this video, we're going to learn how to create our very first macro. Now, luckily these days, we don't actually need to know much code, if any, to create macros. And that's because we have this neat little button inside of Excel called the Record Macro button. And essentially what this is going to do is once we click on this button, Excel is going to start listening and watching for all the different actions that we do, all the way up until we hit the end macro or end recording button. And once we end that recording, then it's essentially going to create a macro for us of all those actions that we performed while we were recording. That way, later on, with just a single click of a button, we can very quickly and easily execute all those same actions over and over again. So let's see what I actually mean by this. For instance, let's say that I had a report title that I needed to put on every single report that I was given, and I had to do this several times a day. So let's say there was a whole bunch of different steps inside of creating this report title. So let's say I had a super cool report title that had to be at the top, and then underneath it I had some awesome subtitle that was needed, and then I had to put in the date right underneath that. And then there was some very specific formatting that we needed. So let's say that had to be really big and it was bold. Let's say it needed a certain color on it, and then a background color, and then maybe some text color. Maybe this will be a little bit of an accent of that. This will be a little bit lighter of that. We'll change the text here to something like that. Text here to something like that. Maybe make this one a little bit bigger. We'll italicize this one and we'll underline this one. And then we'll put the whole thing in maybe some thick outside border. And then we'll maybe even get it like that. So we can see that there's a lot of steps in order to perform this sort of formatting here. And that becomes very tedious, especially when I'm doing this several times a day. It becomes very prone to human error where I would forget one of these tasks. Or maybe I need to delegate this task out to someone else, and I'm concerned that they're not going to know how to do all those steps, or they might forget one of the tasks or forget one of the steps. All right, so just performing all these manual steps just makes everything really tedious. So let's see now how we can automate all these tasks with the use of a macro. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out all this formatting here. All right, and then I'm going to go to the Developer tab. And then right now, right off the bat, I'm going to make sure I am selecting Use Relative References, and I will explain what this means in a later video. But just go ahead and click on that for now. And now to start off, before I actually click on Record Macro, I'm going to click on the cell, and I want to make sure that I'm already highlighted in the cell that I want to start formatting first. So in this case, I want to start formatting cell A1 first, so I'm going to click on cell A1, and then I'm going to click on the Record Macro button. And then it's going to prompt me to create the macro name for it right away. So I'm just going to name this report title. And notice how I put an underscore in there. And the reason is because you cannot have a space in a macro name. There cannot be a space. So you can either do a camel case like this where there's no space, but each word is just capitalized. So each word kind of looks like, you know, another hump of a camel. That's why this convention here is called camel case. Or some people like to have a little bit more space in between there, so they'll simulate a space with an underscore instead. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that convention where each word is separated by an underscore. And then all the rest of these I'm just going to leave as blank. But again, I will explain what these all mean in a later video. So store this macro in this workbook. Leave the shortcut key as empty. If you are on Windows, instead of seeing Option Command here, on Windows it will show as Control. And then for the description, I'm just going to leave that blank, and I will click OK. All right, and now Excel is listening for every single action that I'm doing. So now I'm just going to go ahead and start creating my report title like I normally would. And I'm going to say super cool report title. And then I had an awesome subtitle under here. And the date was underneath there. And then I made this guy pretty big. It was super bold. Had some color in there. And then this had a different highlight with some gray text. And then this one was italicized, I think, right? And this one was italicized, this one was underlined. And then this had a little bit lighter. And then this whole thing had a thick outside border, okay? So now my report title is looking exactly how I want it, and it performed all the steps that I needed it to. So now I'm going to go back over to the Developer tab, and I'm going to click on Stop Recording. All right, now I can use this macro whenever I want now. Let's say I also wanted this report title to be on, for instance, another sheet. I can click on create a new worksheet inside of here and click on my macros button, and then find my report title macro and just select run. And very quickly, we see that all those 10, 15, or maybe 20 steps I needed to format my title has been automatically executed with just a click of one button. Because I had the use relative references button enabled, or I had that button on, I can go ahead and do this elsewhere also. I could do it, it doesn't have to be in cell A1, it could be wherever I click it. Whatever cell I'm highlighted on, and then run the macro name, it will run at that spot. And again, the reason that that happens is because I have the use relative references on. So let's end this video now, and in the next video, I'm going to explain a little bit more about what the relative references means versus absolute references. See you all there.